Okay, so I don't want to complete the lab for you, which is going to be lab number 11, but I'm just kind of going to touch on this a little bit to give you some kind of give you a head start. So I've just created a label and a text box over here, a button and a label. Let's give a name to this particular text box, TXT wages, or I should say hourly wage, sorry. Hourly wage. And so that was a mistake over there. I shouldn't have said hour wage. I should have said hourly wage. There we go. So this text box will have the name TXT hourly wage. How much do you get per hour? That's what we're going to put here. The next text box, this is going to be TXT hours worked. This text box, we'll call that BTN submit. Finally, this text box, LBL result. So let's see here. TXT hourly wage. This one is going to be TXT hours worked. BTN submit for the button. LBL result for the label. Save your work. And so let's say that our calculator is limited. If the person works 50 hours a week, I can't calculate overtime pay. I can only calculate when you work 40 hours or less, right? Lab number 11, that's going to include overtime pay. So I'm a beginning computer science student. I can create for you a quick wage calculator, but it's only if you work 40 hours or less. I can't handle the overtime pay. I don't know how to handle that. So let's double click the submit button, and I'm going to create some comments, declarations, get user input, calculation, output. Once again, for the declarations, think to yourself, what is it that the user is giving to me? And then what is it that I need to give back to the user? So let's go back to the form. I think you would agree that the user has to give you their hourly wage. So that's the first thing. Now, I'm going to say dim hourly wage as double. Now, the reason why I'm saying as double is because somebody could make $10.50. In other words, the 50 cents is what I need to consider the decimal point. So that's got to be a double. If it's an integer, then they can't enter $10.50. If it's an integer, they can only enter 10, 11, 12, 13, so forth and so on. Now, going back to the form, it looks like the user is also going to give me the hours worked. So back over here, sorry. Back over here, dim hours worked. Now, I'm also going to put that as a double because a lot of companies will give you extra pay if you work an extra half hour, like 25 and a half hours. Or, at Northrop, they paid for every quarter hour. Every 15 minutes, they would give you pay. So that would be a double then to accommodate the decimal point. If it was a quarter, that'd be 0.25. If that was 3/4, that'd be 0.75, so forth and so on. What is it that I'm going to be giving back to the user? Well, I'm going to be giving them a message, namely, your regular pay is, and then whatever that happens to be. So I'm going to say dim message as string. So I forgot to put double up here. And if I wanted to, I could assign it to nothing at first. Okay, let's get the hourly wage, because that's what the user entered over here. And let's also get the hours worked. So over here, hourly wage is going to be, well, first I got to convert to a double whatever is inside of hourly wage.text. It's going to be the same thing for hours worked. That's going to be hours worked convert dot to double whatever is inside of the hours worked text box. So here we are grabbing the values from the text boxes and putting them into the variable after we convert. Notice that I'm converting to double because that's what these two things are. They are doubles. Okay. So now that I've grabbed that input, I can determine what the wage is, but only for people who work 40 hours or less. If you work more than 40 hours, I'm just not ready there. I'm not there yet to understand that calculation. So what I'll do is I'll create an if statement. If the hours worked is less than or equal to 40, then I press enter. See, if you work less than or 40 hours, I can handle that because your wage is just simply the hours worked times the number of hours, or times your hourly wage. Okay, so I could do something like this. Message is going to be assigned. Okay, so let's say, quote, your pay, your regular pay is, and then what I want to do is I want to concatenate this with however much that they made. So I'm going to concatenate that with something else. Remember that ampersand is basically the glue that connects the left side to the right side. We call it the concatenation operator. It just simply means put together the left and the right hand side. All right. Well, what is it that I want to put together? Now, I'm going to type something that's wrong. So just watch the show. Don't type this. But it's going to express an idea. Whatever your hourly wage is times your hours worked. That's what I want to send out. Okay, now I'm going to erase this in just a second. Your regular pay is, okay, if that's 10, and if I work 10 hours, so this would say, your regular pay is 100, right? That's what it would say. But here's the problem. I want this to say, your regular pay is, and then I want it to say 100 with the dollar symbol and the decimal and the 2 zeros afterwards, right? So I'm not ready for this yet. Why don't I do this? I'm going to go back over here to the declarations section, and I'm going to say dim regular pay as double. So I'm going to create another variable called regular pay. That way I can say regular pay is going to be assigned whatever the hours worked is times the hourly wage. And I'm going to put that into regular pay. So now over here, I'll do this. Regular pay is going to be hourly wage times hours worked. Okay, so now that I have what the regular pay is, you may be thinking this. Now, I don't want you to type what I'm about to type. Regular pay. You may be thinking, oh, okay, good. I've solved for regular pay up here. So now I have a string that I'm going to send out to this variable called message, which is a string. Your regular pay is, and then whatever that regular pay is. But again, I want this to be displayed with the dollar symbol and the dot and the 2 numbers after the decimal point. So here's how you do it. Regular pay. Now this is what I do want you to type. Type in regular pay dot toString parentheses C and then press enter. Now, if you want to express a number as a currency, then you put C. If you want to represent a number as a percentage, then you put the letter P. If you want to represent your number as an exponential number, which is like 10 with an E and a certain number in the exponent, you would put the letter E. If you want your number to have only 3 decimals, 3 numbers after the decimal point, then you would put F with a 3. 3 representing 3 numbers after the decimal point. So there's all kinds of codes like that that are available in Visual Basic. C means convert this thing into a currency format. Now, first you have to do this. You have to take this variable, which is a double. You have to convert it into a string. Now, hey, Professor Solis, how come you didn't do this? Convert dot to string and then whatever the regular pay is. I could have done that. But this is the way that you convert it to a string with a format, namely with a currency format. If I just converted, if I said convert to string over here and then put that around here like this, don't type this, I'm giving you an example. Convert to string regular pay. Could I have done this? Yes, I could have done this. But it's not going to give me that dollar symbol. It's not going to give me the two numbers after the decimal point. This does. This does. That gives me the dollar symbol. That gives me the two numbers after the decimal point. Now, this is only going to be the case if the user enters the hours worked less than or equal to 40. If that's not the case, then my message is going to be, sorry, I don't know how to calculate your pay for more than 40 hours. I don't know how to do that yet because that involves overtime pay, and that is going to involve a different regular pay. It's not just simply the number of hours worked times the hourly wage. It's going to involve something different, and that's what the lab is going to go over. So we're either going to have this message or the other message. When we're done, we're going to place this to the label. So it's LBL result.text is going to be whatever output is, or whatever message is, sorry. So I'll run the program. Let me see here. I get $10 an hour and I worked 10 hours. Your regular pay is, see the dollar symbol? See the two numbers after the decimal point? That's because you said take this regular pay and convert it into a formatted string, namely one that displays the format in the form of currency, and that's why you see that. I can already tell my label is going to be too small, so let me just go back over here and make this thing a little bit bigger, something like that, to accommodate my message. Let me go back over here so you can see the code. And here's the program again. Okay, I get 10 bucks an hour, but I worked 50 hours because I worked 10 hours overtime. Sorry, I don't know how to calculate your pay for more than 40 hours. I'm just not there yet. I don't know how to do that. So I guess that was a little bit overkill. Something like this is probably fine. Okay, so the idea is this. Number one, you have an if statement that asks if the hours worked is less than or equal to 40, you're going to do this. Otherwise, if that's false, you'll do this. You've also learned now how you can format a number as a currency format, namely something that has a dollar symbol and two numbers after the decimal point.